This presentation will provide an overview of alcohol use as a public health priority within Australia. Alcohol use in Australia will be analysed using the Red Lotus model of health and well-being, which will utilise both individual and environmental determinants. Furthermore, the Red Lotus model compares holistic, ecological and salutogenic health promotion practices, whilst also investigating a social justice perspective. So, what is alcohol use? Alcohol use, in general terms, refers to the consumption of a liquid, usually beer, wine or spirits, containing ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol is a legal substance within Australia and can cause drunkenness, changes in cognitive behaviour and emotions. However, excess consumption of ethyl alcohol, or alcohol intoxication, can have detrimental psychological and physical deficits, which can lead to disruptions in everyday life. The Healthline organisation conducted a study which found there to be 5 stages of problem drinking. The first stage is classed as occasional abuse and binge drinking. This stage of ethyl alcohol consumption refers to general experimentation and is most prominent with younger adults aged 18 to 34 years old. The second stage of alcoholism is referred to as increased drinking. This is seen when a person begins drinking on more frequent occasions, rather than just at social gatherings and parties. The third stage is problem drinking, which is where the drinking is so excessive it begins affecting facets of their life, in addition to relationships and cognitive behaviours. The fourth stage of alcoholism is known as alcohol dependence, which is associated with a need for alcohol and is built into their daily routine. An individual may be aware of the negative effects the dependence is having on their lives, however they are unable to control the need. It can also be associated with withdrawals. The fifth and final stage of alcoholism is known as alcohol addiction, where the urge to drink is fueled by a psychological and physical need rather than a want. This addiction may also be associated with other drugs as well as detrimental impacts on their social, physical and mental well-being. A study conducted by the Australian Bureau of Statistics showed that, in the last year, between 2014 and 2015, 80.6% of Australians over 18 had consumed alcohol. Dr. Kerry Shant, the Chief Health Officer of the New South Wales Government, conducted a study on the trends of alcohol-related harm within New South Wales, and found that excessive use of alcohol is the third leading preventable cause of death worldwide. Furthermore, the study also concluded that, while no amount of alcohol consumption is safe, roughly 1 in 4 of all adults drink at levels which put their long-term health at risk. It was also found that binge drinking is the most harmful for short-term health and has been increasing over the last 2 years, being most prominent in 18 to 28-year-old men. Reports also find that individuals living in outer regional or remote areas have greater chance of becoming alcohol dependent. Additionally, over the last 15 years, males with a low socioeconomic status and aged over 65 years are most at risk of alcohol-attributed deaths. However, it is also stated that socioeconomic status contributes the least to overconsumption of alcohol. Using the Red Lotus model of health and well-being, the individual determinants of health were examined. These include the biological, socioeconomic, cognitive and behavioural factors. Biological factors of health and well-being examine age, gender, ethnicity and genetics. It has been reported that among all individuals, people aged 18 to 34 years old are most likely to consume alcohol, although people over the age of 65 are more likely to die from alcohol-related harm. Additionally, males are more likely to exceed the risk threshold for drinking in comparison to females. While there is only a slight difference in the amounts of Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians that drink, out of the Indigenous people who drink alcohol, a higher percentage are more likely to exceed the recommended consumption levels. Moreover, while it is still being investigated, there is also evidence to prove that genetics can greatly impact the chance of an individual developing an alcohol use disorder. Reports show that there is little to no difference in socioeconomic statuses for people over the age of 18 to drink at levels which place their long-term health at risk. However, people deemed unemployed by the Queensland Government have been found to be more susceptible to drink, while people who have attained lower education levels are also more prone to alcohol use disorders. Conversely, the stresses involved with individuals starting new jobs or education can also increase their risk of overconsumption of alcohol. Within the individual determinants of health, there are certain cognitive factors which influence a person's dependency on alcohol. Cognitive factors include the ideologies, or values, attitudes, and beliefs of people's dependence of alcoholic substances. The Foundation for Research in Alcohol Education created an Australia-wide poll on the attitudes and behaviours of individuals who consume alcohol. In 2016, this report showed that 78% of Australia's population believed that greater efforts need to be made to reduce the risk of alcohol-related violence and general harm, with 71% of all Australians believing the alcohol industry should pay for these harms caused. Despite the large amounts of alcohol abuse active nationwide currently, 81% of women believe that Australia has a problem with alcohol, in comparison to 75% of men. There are several behavioural factors which are related to the individual determinants of health within the Red Lotus model. These factors include the social, physical, mental, and spiritual determinants of an individual. A report showed that the effects of alcohol can be detrimental to a person's physical ability. Alcohol increases the time it takes the body to burn off fat and reduces the energy stores within the body. This is harmful as it can actively decrease an individual's fitness, disrupt sleeping patterns, and have an overall negative effect on their mental state. The environmental determinants of health focus on 5 components. However, only built, social, political, and economic will be examined, as the natural environment has minimal impact on the use of alcoholic substances, as well as the minimal supporting evidence available. Built, as an environmental factor, focuses on physical infrastructure and urbanisation. As mentioned previously, people who live in outer regional and remote areas are more susceptible to drinking. Furthermore, those with a low socio-economic status who live in less developed areas also have a greater chance of developing an alcohol use dependence. Social factors include social capital and social culture structures. This can be determined by a person's education attainment, as the lower the education regarding alcohol, the less an individual is prone to worry about the consequences of their actions. The environmental determinants of health also look at economical factors such as wealth distribution and economic policies, and, in particular, economic growth, privatisation, and international trade. The Australian Taxation Office plays a major role in the efforts to decrease alcohol consumption. The taxes on substances containing ethyl alcohol are constantly rising, creating a negative bias towards buying alcohol. Moreover, as of July 2010, the Australian government received $5.6 billion Australian dollars in alcohol tax, a figure which has dramatically increased since. Political factors are paramount in relation to the social justice perspective of alcohol use. Political factors include political ideology, political environment, and legislative environment. The Australian government have implemented a law which states that it is illegal for any person under the age of 18 to purchase any alcoholic beverage, or have any drinks bought for them. Furthermore, many venues have regulated the availability of drinking areas, such as cinemas and festivals, which helps to limit the exposure younger teens and children have to alcohol. This task has successfully shown that through using salutogenic health promotion practices incorporated with social justice perspectives, alcohol use can begin to be slightly more controlled and regulated, in order to increase the health and well-being of all individuals. Thank you for listening.